Ever heard of a notorious gangster turned, well, anti-violence advocate?
Sounds like quite the story.
It is, trust me. We're diving deep into the life of Darren Gee, from the rough and tumble streets of Liverpool all the way to, well, trying to turn his life around.
We're talking about way more than just headlines here. We're going to unpack systemic issues, the sheer will it takes to break free from violence, and, of course, the wild world of true crime podcasting. It's got its own drama, let me tell you.
Oh, we're getting into all of it, including, and this is wild, an actual assassination attempt. An SAS hitman hired by, get this, a rival gang.
Wow. Okay, so to understand why someone would want this guy, Darren Gee, we got to rewind, right? Go back to the beginning.
Right back.
Darren's childhood, it was rough, like really rough. We're talking abuse, physical, mental, the whole 9 yards, families fractured, bouncing around the care system.
And he doesn't sugarcoat it. He talks about how social workers treated him and his brother. It's heartbreaking, honestly, but it gives you this sharp understanding of how he built up that tough exterior.
Had to, probably, just to survive those years.
Yeah.
And, this is where the cycle tends to start. These institutions, right, they're meant to protect vulnerable kids, but sometimes they end up mirroring the exact environments they're trying to prevent. It's tragically ironic when you think about it.
It's true. And it's no wonder that Darren said he felt more ready for prison than a lot of people would be, almost like he was, what's the word, institutionalized already.
Exactly. It's like the system accidentally pushed him onto the very path it was supposed to help him avoid.
It's crazy. But let's back up a bit. Darren grew up near Anfield, the legendary Liverpool football ground.
Ah, Anfield. Got it.
You'd think, oh, glamorous, but
Not always.
not quite. Not the safest place, especially on match days with the crowds and all that. Perfect breeding ground for, well, petty crime. And that's where Darren's story really starts.
Makes sense.
Yeah, started small. Swiping car stereos around Anfield, things like that. Almost a rite of passage for kids in the area.
A product of the environment. You see the older kids doing it, you figure, why not me?
Exactly.
But then it escalates.
Oh, it does. He talks about robbing pubs, then targeting drug dealers, and that's when things took a really dark turn.
It's that gangster mindset. Why just steal when you can control the whole operation, right?
Yeah.
But of course, that puts you in direct competition. Turf wars, violence.
Especially with the Scotland Road gang. Now, if you don't know Liverpool, this whole postcode rivalry thing might sound strange. But it's serious stuff.
Oh, I bet.
Imagine entire neighborhoods, right, locked in these feuds that have been going on for generations, fueled by poverty, no opportunity, this us versus them mentality. That's postcode rivalry.
Wow, so this is bigger than just Darren Gee then.
Way bigger.
And it's crazy how it just keeps affecting generation after generation. Even after Darren went to prison, he talks about kids who weren't even born back then, still caught up in this Anfield-Scotland Road rivalry. It's a vicious cycle.
That's the thing about cycles. So hard to break. So we've talked about his tough upbringing, how he got caught in this cycle of violence, but what was the turning point? What made him even want to choose a different path?
Well, it's a long story. But the IED incident, that's a big one.
Yeah, that's where things get really complicated. We're talking about a car bomb, right, explodes outside a Liverpool nightclub, a massive explosion. I mean, the biggest on mainland Britain since the IRA ceasefire.
It's huge, and it doesn't even stop there.
Yeah.
There were multiple attacks, police stations shutting down. This climate of fear takes over the city.
You can imagine.
Oh, absolutely. The impact, the erosion of trust.
Yeah.
And it seemed like instead of actually figuring out what happened, the authorities just wanted to pin it on someone.
Find a scapegoat.
Exactly.
And that's where Darren comes in, right? Even though he says he had nothing to do with the bombings, the police, they were sure he was the mastermind.
And IEDs, they were rare in the UK, especially anything on that scale.
Right.
So it makes you wonder if there was something else going on, maybe some outside influence we don't know about. But either way, Darren gets hit with an 18-year sentence.
18 years.
18 years.
Yeah.
And he always maintained his innocence. Even said that the police messed with his parole to keep him locked up longer.
Wow. He talks about constantly being moved between prisons, psychological evaluations. Sounds like they're really trying to keep him contained.
It makes you question the whole system, doesn't it?
It does.
Is this really about rehabilitation, about giving people a second chance, or is it about something else entirely?
Especially when you hear what happened after he finished his sentence. He gets out of prison with absolutely nothing.
Think about that. You're behind bars for 18 years, cut off. And then, bam, you're supposed to just, reintegrate? It's a recipe for disaster.
He talks about trying to find housing, getting stuck in this like bureaucratic nightmare with the probation service, couldn't even contact his family, couldn't get a job.
The system makes it almost impossible to escape your past. And for Darren, it nearly broke him.
Really?
Oh, yeah. He was close to suicide, completely hopeless. And then he gets this message on his phone. Choose a life, not a knife.
Are you serious that that's all it took?
That simple message changed his entire perspective.
Wow. It really makes you think about the power of hope even just a little bit.
It does. And for him, that message, it was a lifeline. He could have easily gone back to his old ways, given what he was dealing with. But instead, he uses it all, that anger, that frustration, and turns it into something positive. Starts speaking out against violence, especially to young people, using his own life as an example.
That's powerful, and I bet it resonated with a lot of people.
It did. But then his platform gets bigger. He gets pulled into this whole true crime podcasting world, and things get, well, unexpected.
Talk about a wrong turn. The guy's trying to turn his life around, and suddenly he's in the middle of a whole new battlefield.
The podcasting world, huh?
Yeah. It all started when he went on this popular true crime podcast, James English, the host.
Right, I've heard of him.
So the episode blows up, goes viral, and just like that, Darren Gee is back in the spotlight.
Which can be a good thing or a bad thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, on the one hand, he's got this platform, people are listening, but it comes with baggage.
A lot of baggage. And not all of it's good. He ends up in this public feud with James English, the host, and another podcaster, Marvin Herbert.
Oh, wow.
Accusations flying everywhere, sabotage, lies. They're even using Darren's past to discredit him.
It's a messy world sometimes. True crime, you've got this weird balance, right? Entertainment, but also exploitation.
Yeah.
Giving people a voice, but then, profiting off these sensationalized stories. It's a tough line to walk.
And for someone like Darren who's just trying to rebuild his life, stay out of trouble, it's like, what are you supposed to do?
It's a tough spot to be in. He's out here trying to promote a better way, and then society's kind of trying to keep him stuck,
It's true. But here's the thing. Even with all that, Darren still wants to tell his story, his way. He's talking about writing a book. A trilogy, actually.
A trilogy. Ambitious.
Right. His life of crime, prison, and now everything he's doing to, make things right.
Imagine the power of that story in his own words. No filter.
Exactly. It could really change things for him, for people who read it.
It makes you think differently about second chances. Redemption.
It does. But it all comes down to this,
Yeah.
Will he get the chance? Will he get to write his own ending?
That's the question, isn't it?
It is. That's what makes Darren Gee's story so captivating. It's not over yet. And it really makes you confront some hard truths about the justice system, about how we view people who've made mistakes,
It makes you think.
It does. So we'll leave you with this. What will Darren Gee's legacy be? Will people remember the gangster, or will they remember the guy who tried to change things, to break the cycle? What do you think?
It's a story that stays with you, that's for sure.
It really is.